Um, okay. Oh, wait, Rabbi Spirit, I didn't realize you weren't feeling well. One second. If you're not feeling well, we have to socially distance for this. 1 second here. Let me get ready. Okay. Hello to everybody out there. I am Rabbi Pinchas Landis of Jewcast.com, and I'm here with my cohort, Rabbi Gamliel Nassan Spiro, also of Jewcast.com, and we are here to bring you another amazing episode of the Rabbis podcast. This is our pre-Shavuos episode, which will drop shortly. And if you happen to be one of those lauding fans who always signs on right away to either watch the Zoomcast or listen to the podcast, and you're going to watch it or listen to it this afternoon, you'll want to be sure to sign in at 8 p.m. tonight when we have 6:13 pre-Shavuos inspiration, 6 presentations, each of 13 minutes, with both yours truly, Rabbi Spiro, and myself.
I thought it was 13 speakers, each guy for 6 minutes.
That's next year. Just to change that up next year. By the way, we almost had it. We almost keeping this program together with the amazing 6 speakers we have: myself, Rabbi Spiro, Rabbi Menachem Tannenbaum, Rabbi Aryeh Friedner, Miss Chaim Perel Handler, and Rabbi Yosef Kovel. Keeping the group together was not easy. In fact, we almost had a mutiny at one point, and they almost started a 5-12 program. So Baruch Hashem, we're able to keep it as one group, keep it together, and it's going to be great. Be sure to check it out tonight at 8 p.m. on either Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. Or if you miss it at 8 p.m. tonight, don't worry, because the video will be posted on both Facebook and Zoom. I'm sorry, Facebook and YouTube, and you can go to our Facebook page to get that link if you're hearing this or seeing this later. So it's definitely something you want to check out, definitely something you want to see. And in the meantime, we're going to jump right into Shavuos because hey, there's a lot to do, a lot of cheesecake to be made. I know in Rabbi Spiro's house, he takes the cheesecake making very seriously. He actually goes down to a farm and milks his own cow, and he brings home that milk and makes the cheese out of it, the cream cheese, and the heavy cream and the sour cream and everything goes into it. He makes them all separately. He has like a lab set up in his basement for weeks on end, which during Corona, this had a whole nother level of work that this all needed. But he makes his own cheesecake. And now he doesn't just make one cheesecake. He makes 27 varieties of cheesecake. So Rabbi Spiro, what are you working on for this year's cheesecake in the Spiro household?
When I was in Eretz Yisrael, I'm a unfortunate Gashmistic person. Most people are Eretz Yisrael just happy to be absorbing the Shechina, but it always bothered me there was no cream cheese there. And like some Americans who have been in Eretz Yisrael for a long time would tell me, like, no, eat the shamenet, that's 7% or that's 11% of the same thing. I'd be like, you have not been in America in a long time.
Yeah, it's a funny thing in Israel because they grade, there's different levels of spoiled milk, and they title it and grade it based on how much fat it has in it.
I think now it's gotten better. I think now you could actually get some types of cream cheese. But when I was there in the 90s.
Yeah.
Most of the 90s, I was in Eretz Yisrael, either as a bacher or as a younger man, and there was no cream cheese to be had in that country. And yeah, a good friend of mine made a bris, I remember, and he had his brother came in from Borough Park, and he brought with him lox, bagels, and cream cheese, and Tropicana orange juice. 4 things which you could not get in Eretz Yisrael at that point.
Right.
At that time, there was no orange juice. Hard to believe. There was orange drink, no orange juice, no cream cheese, and you couldn't get lox there. And it was, I remember, the island was just going berserk, literally. Like, people were tackling each other at the bris. It was stabbing each other with the miles challah. It was crazy. I don't want to get into it right now. It was a very crazy time. But we want to move fast here because now it's almost time for Shavuos.
Yeah, it's almost time for Shavuos. But one thing I want an answer to is where that comes from Israel. In other words, is that a Middle Eastern thing? Is that a European thing? Is that left over from Britain when they controlled the country? Like,
no,
I'm
pretty sure it's Middle Eastern.
That's how they do in other Middle Eastern countries.
Gradations of cheese with they spread on their bread, and they're like 2%, 3%, 8%, all these different percentages. I didn't like any of them, but my wife's Israeli, and she knew the system. But yeah, I never could tolerate any of those different types of cheeses. But yeah, I guess cream cheese. It's just so many foods you don't realize are purely American things. I remember when Bonkers Bagels opened. I don't know if you know what Bonkers Bagels is.
Oh, that was huge. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what type of, it was a huge issue to have Bonkers, like a bagel store in Yerushalayim. Mm-hmm. It was almost as big as the day the Orioles became kosher in America. It was a huge day. And
Right.
excuse me, but now you go at that. Now you even see Dr. Pepper. You go to the Makolits now. If you the ones near Mir and near Brisk and Arzabira and those neighborhoods where a lot of Americans live.
Harnof.
See, right. I don't know if you see Dr. Pepper. You see all these other things. But in any case, Shavuos is coming, and
Shavuos is coming.
Shavuos is coming, but Shavuos is just without the machshava, just a simplistic level of this is the greatest day of the year. It's the day when we receive the Torah. It's the day when we reaffirm A, our acceptance of the Torah, B, we reaffirm the idea that our lives are meaningful and that the only thing that truly matters is Kirvas Elokim L'Tayv, being close to Hashem is the only good in the world. And it's such an exciting day, and especially it's also exciting now because the restrictions are going off a little bit. Are they right or are they wrong? I don't know. I'm personally, like I mentioned I think last week, I'm going with the Schus of the Klal. So there's going to be learning at my house, Shavuos evening, outdoor learning we're going to have. We just set up the canopies, and I heard it's going to be hot and thunderstorming. A devastating combination, humidity and wetness and heat, but it'll be good. We're going to be learning outside, and it's just such an exciting, this is the yahrzeit of Dovid HaMelech. Dovid HaMelech, it's, if you ask of any of the Shivarayim, the famous Shivarayim, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and David, it's easy. I think the hardest one to define is David, because the other six, you can of course they led huge lives, but you can summarize somewhat in a paragraph what they accomplished. Dovid HaMelech, the summarization, I mean, you could, but I think there would be a totally different type of summarization. The summarization would be he fully lived his life with Hashem. I know that sounds very vague and ambiguous, but his life had so many ups and downs. And you read Tehillim, which I know you've been at Tehillim recently. Tehillim, the amazing thing about them, some people have the minute, by the way, on Shavuos to finish Tehillim because of the yahrzeit of Dovid HaMelech. The amazing aspect of Tehillim is the connection with Hashem in all times and all places. David connects to Hashem when he's happy. He connects to Hashem when he's sad. He connects to Hashem when he's in power. He connects to Hashem when he's on the run. In every time, in every place, Dovid HaMelech is purely attached to Hashem. And it's such a great symbol, such a great example for us to live by, this idea of the pure and utter connection to Hashem, even when times are rough. Right? Dovid HaMelech, when Nassan Navi gave him Musar after the Ma'aseh with Bathsheba, it was 2 years later, most Mefarshim say, 2 years. So in other words, for us, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, for those 2 years, I would feel like, oh, who am I? And I would have listened to the Yetzer Hara and said, I have no connection anyway. What's the point? Dovid HaMelech never had a tekufa like that in his life. In every tekufa, he was 100% living with Hashem, and that is the best example. I think that's why, in that aspect, Dovid HaMelech personifies Shavuos.
Beautiful, and that's one of the reasons I know we read Rosh and Shavuos, so we know the origins of Dovid HaMelech, and I've given many classes, as I'm sure you have, of the origins of Dovid HaMelech / the origins of Mashiach / the lineage of Mashiach. There's obviously the famous examples we know of Lot and his daughters on one hand, and Yehuda and Tamar, and David and Bathsheba, and but it even what people don't realize, it even goes past David. Like the fact that we still have a Davidic line preserved in the Jewish people. You have Atalia, who would try to wipe out the whole house of David. And Yoash was hidden in the base of Migdash by Yoshaphat, by Yoyada and his wife. I'm blanking on her name.
What's her name again?
Well, you have to read my recent ConCon article because it's in there. But anyways, that's what I was trying to think of her name, because
Yonadav, what's her name?
It's like Yoda. It sounds like that, but it's Yehosheva.
Yosheva, right?
Yosheva was her name. So you have the whole house of David was almost wiped out by Ahab's family. You have you fast forward to Golas Yechanya at the end of Bais Rishon, where one of the reasons we recall Yechanya as a tzaddik was because in the end he abstained from his wife because she was in Nida, but then the people persevere, that he should be with his wife, so there should be a kiyum to the house of Dovid. But again, it's just been tenuous on the whole situation. And it's interesting that the story we pick on Shavuos to sort of encapsulate that is Rus, which is just a fascinating Megillah. My daily Nach Hazara, I just finished it yesterday, I believe, and it's just a fascinating story on so many levels.
Yeah, like I mentioned, it is my favorite. It's my favorite sefer in Tanakh. I have a cough today. Wow! But one of the things that I think also, I just saw. I was just learning a piece. Rabbi Lance, you're making me cough. I blame.
I'm sorry. Here. 1 second. Here, let me. I need to be safe here.
Just have to speak about the idea that davening in the morning, with going through Shachris, with today it was humid outside, and wearing a mask by davening is really annoying. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm with you, which is one reason why my Shavuos night, I think I'm just staying home and learning with my kids, because any communal opportunity is going to require wearing a mask. Right. And like Shabbos,
I'm a little nervous about that. This morning during davening, at one point, it was so
very uncomfortable.
Driveway by the dorm of yeshiva. So the milk that was a shots. I just sat. I went into my car and I turned on the AC. And I took off my mask. It's really, it is davening with a mask on is really challenging. It's not the same as just wearing a mask. Davening is very tough. So I saw the other day a letter from the Balatanya, a mind-blowing letter where it's in Sefer Tanya. It's in the Agaris. It's Yud Aleph, the 11th letter, or as some Svarim translate it, the 11th epistle. I just love that word, and I never I don't know what it's even about.
That's I gotta say that's one of those bad PR slips. Like I was just talking to my good friend Dave Farkas today, and we referenced Solomon Schechter referring to his philosophy as Catholic Israel. Like, okay, if you guys like you and me know what he was talking about, know what he was trying to get at, but like terrible PR for where that movement went.
First heard that thing, I was like, oh, typical. And that's of course he'd call you.
Yeah. So again, lahavdil when they call when certain groups refer to the certain.
Later on, did I realize he had meant no shaykhs to Catholicism actually, but yes.
Yeah, again, just so people know, Catholic means like Confederate, means democratic, But anyways, that's a
very poor choice of words. So in Epistle Yud Aleph, in the 11th letter of the Tanya, the Baal Tanya speaks about Yesod, about living with a connection to Hashem. How is it possible? And he gives a great insight, which I think is so relevant to today's world. He talks about that a person who believes in the aspect that Hashem is constantly sustaining the world. Not that just that Hashem created the world, but he's constantly sustaining the world. Not only is he sustaining the world, he's constantly recreating the world. And that every moment of creation is a new opportunity to attach ourselves to Hashem. And I think perhaps this is the secret of tshuva, right? Because we know that tshuva, the Gemara lists, and the Darim, two of the things created before the world were tshuva and Torah. So both those things predate the world. So a person is, so to speak, able to step outside of time and attach themselves to these pre-existing things that have always existed. They can weather any storm. And the Baal Tanya speaks about that. And I think maybe this gives us an insight how David HaMelech was able to live his life in such a fantastic, unique type of way, where he saw Hashem in everything. And the Baal Tanya emphasizes in this letter the idea of rak taiv, that a person lives with life, he understands that everything that happens is only for the good. And it's obviously not so easy to do. We all go through challenges, and our challenges are not every dar has its own challenges. It's hard to compare challenges. Every dar has its own challenges. And sometimes it's hard to imagine, both on an individual level and on a klal level, how everything could be for the good. But we have to, but we know it is. There's a Maisa actually with the Baal Tanya, that one of the other Rabbis was nifter. I can't remember who it was. One of the other Chassidish Rabbis, around the time, it was a very turbulent time at the beginning of the 18th century, right? The end of the 18th century, beginning of the 19th century. Napoleon, the French Revolution, the American Revolution, all these things were happening. So, and there was a debate amongst the Gedolim in Europe. What was better for the Jews, the Tsar or Napoleon, right? And each one had its plus and minus, and no one knew for sure, obviously. But so one of the Rabbis was nifter. So one of the Chassidim said to the Baal Tanya, he said, why, now that this Rebbe was nifter, we know he was, maybe he meant to believe Yitzchak, he was such a great defender, such a lover of Israel, a lover of Klal Yisrael, why has he not persuaded Hashem in the Olam HaEmes? He's up there now, to lessen our burden, to lessen the persecution. We're getting it from both sides, from the French, from the Napoleon side, from the Tsar. The Tsar was just the Tsars is not only one Tsar. Some of the worst human beings in the history of the world. Right. I mentioned the story when Rav Chaim Volozhiner, Rav Itzela Volozhiner, Rav Chaim's son, went to see the Tsar, the palace of the Tsar. They didn't meet with the Tsar himself. They went to the palace of the Tsar to meet with his minister, and the Tsar's son threw rocks at them. Right? They're dignitaries coming to visit the father's government, and the kids throwing rocks. So it's a Volozhiner. The guy that spoke about in a few places knew how to chachmas hapartzuf, knew how to read people's foreheads. And I presumably taught Reb Chaim, and Reb Chaim taught Reb Itzla. I'm assuming the Ritzla looked into the child and said to the people with him that this child is Zera Amalek Mamish. That this child is Mamish from the seed of Amalek. We are going to have real problems with him. And that was the Tsar who started the Cantonistim, who started enlisting the kids in the army at a very young age. So in any case, the Talmidim asked the Baal Tanya, why doesn't this Rebbe in Shemayim beg to Hashem to stop the persecution? So Baal Tanya said, what's the answer? Obviously, that I'm sure he planned on it. When he went up to Shemayim, he would, but then when he saw the big picture, which we only in Shemayim can you see the big picture, he knew it was for our best right now.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
A person who eats whole wheat bread. Whole wheat bread is terrible. Everyone knows that. So white bread is where it's at. Sure, Moshe has a tshuva, you should know, where he talks about using white flour for matzah. It's more chashuv. Whole wheat bread stinks. But we all know some of us get to a certain age and a certain weight, and the scale's telling us something, and our wives are telling us something, and the doctors are telling us something. You have to eat whole wheat bread, even though it's terrible, but it's the right thing to do, right? And so in the big picture, it's right. So I think the same thing. But that's how Dovid HaMelech.
Wow, look at this. Comparing pogroms in Russia to whole wheat bread. Wow, Rabbi Spiro, look at it.
No, I'm not comparing them. No, it's like when me and Rabbi Weinberg, first time we flew to Eretz Yisrael, I hadn't flown to Eretz Yisrael in like 13, probably 10 years at that time. I hadn't been to Eretz Yisrael. And so now I go once, twice a year for yeshiva. So on the first trip, I guess we've forgotten what it's like, and the rows have gotten tighter. They put in more. It's just true. Right. Go to the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. They have an old United plane on there, and everyone says the same thing when they sit down on that plane. You can walk into it. Wow, there's so much. The seats are so much bigger, and there's so much more room for your feet. They've added more rows.
Right.
We were both like, this is so terrible. This traveling is the worst way to travel to Eretz Yisrael possible. And you read about what the real Mesiras Nefesh people did in so yeah, it's exaggerated.
Yehuda Chassid and the Ramban and told me to grow up to me with Baal Shem, you know.
Right, yeah.
That was Eretz Yisrael nickname B'Yisurim. I don't know if flying El Al is there's Yisurim involved. Don't get me wrong, but it's I
agree. You know, the food. I went to with a guy, and he was not anymore. He is the owner of what's the brand they serve on the plane?
Wilson Foods or Willow Foods or something like that. Wilbur Foods.
Used to be Mazone Foods. Then it stopped being Mazone. It became, I forget, remember the kosher brand.
Yeah.
And Baruch Hashem, he asked me, well, how do you like plain food? And he didn't tell me who he was. And he's not, even then he was just sold it a couple of years before. And I was like, it's okay for a plane. He's like, I used to own this company. And I'm happy you said that. I was like, boy, I'm glad I didn't share my real opinion with him.
Right, exactly.
Podcast. He has listened to this podcast.
He might. You never know. Rabbi Spiro.
Really nice guy. Really, seriously, really great guy. But,
yeah. So I'll share with you or I had on Rus, on my recent Chazara of Rus, that by the way, I'm trying to recall, Shmuel Navi wrote Rus, right? Right. So I don't know if this is one of the Kavanas of Shmuel Navi, because I'm sure he had many, and we're only privileged to so much of his insight. But this is an insight I took out of it. You have this whole situation with Rus and Boaz and Nomi and Ploni Almoni slash Tov, you know, as it's going to be mentioned tonight in 613 by Rabbi Spiro. And there's no spoiler here. There's a big surprise of Rabbi Spiro's piece that you don't want to miss. Something very special that with his piece tonight at 6:13. So just you got to tune in just to see the special, something very special of with his presentation. So it's really a great presentation, but there's something like extraordinary about it. So just FYI. So you have this whole situation where you have this one of the reasons that Naomi discourages Rus to come back with her to Eretz Yisrael is because they're going to be poor and there won't be a redeemer, and they get back and she's embarrassed to go to Bayaz because either she brought back a Moavi or because they went in the first place or she was poor, whatever. Before I should say a lot over there. But you see there's this whole stress, and a big part of definitely like half the Megillah is talking about this need for Naomi and Rus to be redeemed. And part of that redemption is the financial. There's a financial redemption of Elimelech and Machlon and Kilion's property, and then also the redemption of marrying Rus, which I take from that an absolutely fascinating idea. And that is that you see from here really an idea that comes from the Rambam. I think we might have talked about this in a recent episode, but I don't remember, so I'm sure our listeners don't either. But an idea that the Rambam talks about. If you look at the Rambam at the beginning of Sefer Shoftim, he explains how a Dirabanan becomes a Dirabanan. And what he says over there is that Batei Dinim would make gezeros, would make laws, and either they would be accepted by the people, they would not be accepted by the people. Sometimes they would be challenged by higher level. There's an idea of some sort of appeal system, if you will. And bottom line is the people accepted it. It became halacha, it became a durabanan. The people didn't, it didn't. And I think and that's again a fascinating idea for just sort of the halachic development that we don't have anymore nowadays, that you only have with the Sanhedrin, with the court system that we just don't have nowadays. But there is a fluidity to halacha with the proper system, which is one of the reasons why Torah Shabbal Peh cannot be written down, or is not supposed to be written down, because the lack of being written down is part of what keeps the fluidity of the system that's supposed to keep it alive and fluid, so to speak. Again, based on the system. So I think we see an unbelievable example of what the Rambam saying right there in Sefer Rus, in Megillat Rus, because this whole situation is something that number one, we for sure don't have nowadays. And number two, to the best of my knowledge, we don't have any other place in Tanakh or even the Chazal that reference such a system as what was literally going on in Eretz Yisrael at that time with the Shofet, with Ibsan, with Boaz, with the leader of the Jewish people. There was some sort of expansion, if you will, of Yibum, that to where even if you didn't have a direct Yavam, you're still Zakok Yibum. That's what it seems like from reading the verses, because definitely Machlon and Kilian were dead. There was no Yibum as we know it, for sure. Right. Yet Naomi was concerned about her getting married. So it seemed to be there was a gezerah on Yibum that as long as there's a living relative, I'm not sure
if it was a gezerah. I just want to interrupt you. The Ramban says by Erev Einan in Parshas Vayeshev that the idea of Yibum also extended to relatives. In other words, Boaz was the uncle, according to one medrash, according to one medrash, the first cousin of Machlon. And therefore, there was some degree of Yibum.
No, 100%. But what I'm saying is there was either a minig or a gezerah, or there was definitely something that was taken very seriously to the point that Naomi used it to discourage Rus to come, from coming back. Right. And that this is what was done. And then beyond that, this whole thing with because Tov was closer, either because of age or whatever, that they had to go through a ceremony
he was the oldest brother.
Right. So there was this ceremony that roughly references chalitza, but is not really chalitza, because if it was chalitza, then there'd be no more yibum. Like, again, it's something that doesn't exist anywhere else. So I think this is one example. I mean, and there's probably many other examples where we see this in Tanakh, but one very famous example of what the Rambam is saying right there in Tanakh, that it was clear, at least in Shevet Yehuda. Now, we don't know if this extended to other Shvatim, because as we know from the time of the Shoftim, every Shevet sort of had a different. It was a republic, right? There were different Batei Dinim and different Durabanan system, and not different systems. So we don't know if it's existed about beyond Yehuda, but I think this is a perfect example of the Rambam saying that you had a system that's definitely taken seriously in its time, that so to speak didn't go through the process fully to become a Durabanan that we would still have today. That was one I had.
The Brisker Rav writes that one of the fears of Taiv was, Ploni Amoni, was that the Sanhedrin, this Sanhedrin gave a ruling, gave a psak din, but that it would change.
Right.
I don't understand that Brisker Rav fully, because it was halacha meshmi Sinai. So the Sanhedrin was not being mechandish.
Wait. You're referring to Moabite Moabis, right?
Yeah.
You say Moabite Moabis was a halacha meshmi Sinai?
I believe so.
Then why was it ever an issue?
It had been forgotten.
That's it? Really? That's how I understand that?
Forgotten. That's my understanding of it.
Yeah.
Because if that
I guess
case,
it has to be halacha meshmi Sinai because it's a deraisa. If it's a deraisa, it has to be halacha meshmi Sinai. Right. No, that makes sense.
Taiv's concern was that a bezdin would come along, right? Like the Gemara Megillah, gadol b'chachma, gadol b'minyan, bigger in number, bigger in chachma, and say, you know what, that was for that dar, that was the end. But now we've decided, no, that really a Moaviyah to come into the kahal, that is usher. So number one, I don't understand this Brisker Rav, because it would not be mistaver at all. It would not be likely that Sanhedrin could reverse such a din like that. That would throw everything into chaos, right? I'll give you an example. Taisvis talks about the specific chayrim. You're not allowed to be mighty lies on getting. It's a specific chayrim. You're not allowed to, because in the Dover site. But I know that I just saw this other day, and the Truva brought down. Well, one of the Achrayim, when he would do a get, he would announce by the get, there are people there. If something, like by Goyim say, if any objections, speak now, forever hold your peace.
Right.
He would say, when he's writing the get, he would say, anybody has an objection here, they know something is wrong, the way I'm spelling a certain name, the way I'm spelling a certain city, you have to identify what river it's near in a get. You should say it right now. But don't, and once he's given her the get, it's usher b'ma'ar. Right. How would this not be all the more so? Meaning you would literally be taking, case example here of Rus, you'd be taking a huge family and throwing the entire family into such turmoil that the family now Lamafreya was not from a woman who's an Asalavai Bakal, was a Chi of Lav, they would still be Jewish. It would be such a turmoil. It's hard for me to imagine.
So my initial thought on that would be that, again, going along with this sheet, that's what Toy was worried about. That's what Ploni Almoni was worried about. Is that not necessarily that it would be any Sanhedrin, but the Sanhedrin of Eliyahu Navi, which the Gemara tells us beferish that Eliyahu Navi, one of the things he's going to deal with when he comes is Shazam Mamzerus and Yichus, and right that's like going to be his first job, is to sort out all the Yichus. So maybe that was his concern, that as Yidden, and as we're supposed to live b'munah shlema, b'vias HaMashiach, and if you need more information on that, you can join us for you're a heretic if. Continuing next week. But you say it's not Mustaver. I see you're rolling your eyes.
I like it, and I'll tell you why. Because we have a klal that the way a bezdin rules down on earth is the way they rule in Shemayim. And we see this example in many cases how the Halachic system worked. Last night, Ner Yisrael had a program. I'm on the alumni email list, so they had a program, Q&As with Shragi Newberger and Tzvi Berkowitz. Did you see that?
You know what? As Chatani Maskir Yom, I also get the alumni emails, and I never participate. Even though I so often look at the emails and say, "Oh, I should do this," and I just don't. I end up getting busy, and I don't put it in my calendar.
Right.
But that would have been great. That would have been awesome. You were on?
I was on for about 10-15 minutes, but it was interesting. I never looked at Ner Yisrael for base managers, but they're both great people.
No, so I was a Talmud of both of them. I was very close to both of them, so that would have been.
So Shragi said over a great story. He was talking about the idea of bezdin. He just said an interesting anecdote. I never heard this story before. I thought it was fascinating that a woman after the Holocaust, which was pretty common, pretty common, not so rare, she lost her emunah in Hashem and she stopped being observant for about 2 years. And then as she started becoming from again, and she got married, had a very nice family, and then she overheard someone mention the halacha of if a person missed candlelighting on Shabbos, they have to light candles, one candle for that week, every Shabbos forever. By the way, I don't want to give
it. Yeah, right.
Ask when we have light in the house anyway, there's a lot of reasons we make, according to Zalman. So if you have that circumstance happen to you, there's not a psak I'm giving right now. Just telling you over a story. But that's what's said in the Shulchan Aruch. So this woman came over to Rav Gustman, and we saw Rav Gustman, the Rashiv Netz of Israel, one of the Gedolim, and this is in America. He was in America after the war for about 20 years, and he went there to Israel. She came to Israel, Rav Gustman, and said, "Look, Al Maisa." She made a cheshbon. I was not for like 110 Shabbos, some number like that, over 100 Shabbos, should I light every Friday night,
112 candles or whatever it is, yeah.
Besides my 117 candles every night. So if Gusman said every week, count, that number of Shabbos, use a penny per Shabbos and give that to tzedakah. Give $1 a week to tzedakah before lift benching, and have that in mind. So one of his talmidim was in the room. I said, Rebbe, l'maisa it's before Shulchan Aruch. So Gusman said, do you see how much Agmas Nefesh poor one has, how much suffering she's in about what she did? It's first of all, and things were more expensive back then. Also, 100 candles, a lot of candles. He said,
like, where would you put them? The houses are small. They were,
He said the tircha and the Agmas Nefesh, literally, his main thing was Agmas Nefesh.
Right.
You make her suffer every single week after the holiday.
The reminder of that,
He said, I think if we pass like this here, Lamata, they'll hold like that in Shemayim also, and that will be sufficient for her. She'll give $1 in stock every week, and she'll remember those 100 Shabbos, 100 whatever Shabbos. And I think it's and there's many, many examples of Gedolim. He references to last night too in the famous Maisa. Chaim Volozhin told someone not to leave his city in Europe, because everywhere in Europe the guy had a problem with his lung. All the Gedolim in Europe held it made the animal treifa. The Shagas Aryeh held it did not make the animal treifa, and he lived in the Shagas Aryeh city. So Chaim Volozhin told him, if you stay in the Shagas Aryeh city, you're not a treifa. If you leave, you are a treifa. That means you could die within a year. Many examples, but how we pass in Lamata goes to Lamata. When Eliyahu Navi comes and he does these Patei Din, we don't know how it's going to work. Lamai said it'll be fascinating to see. I always have this worry when Mashiach comes, like we're going to want to see the Gedolim probably directly above us, sort of, right? Around Cutler and Moshe Feinstein.
Right.
Around Cutler and Moshe Feinstein are going to want to see the gun.
Right, exactly. The guy's going to want to see Moshe Rabbeinu. That's exactly. Yeah. I mean, by the way, Agav Orche, and I'm only saying this because you mentioned the Tanya and whichever epistle you quote. I think epistle 12 you quoted.
11.
Epistle 11. Sorry. So I'm only quoting it there. This is I a few times in my life have had the I don't know if it's a pleasure or misfortune, but to have a debate with some of my Lubavitcher friends that believe that that the Rebbe, the most recent Rebbe is coming back to be Mashiach, and how they try and fit it into certain Meforshim. And they always
you're shocking me right now.
That I'm even bringing this up, or they had a discussion about it?
That he's not Mashiach.
Oh, okay. So one of the Gemaras they bring up, which is just I mean, every example they bring is completely intellectually dishonest, but this one especially, it's like there's a Gemara that says the Gemara in Sanhedrin that says if it's Menachem, it's going to be like it's going to be I forget who the example Menachem is. Chizki. No. Chizki is Menachem?
No, not Menachem.
No. It's Menamesim is Daniel. Menamesim is Daniel. Right? Menamesim is Daniel. Menachem is one of the Amoraim. I forget. Anyhow, whatever it is. So they say so they bring this as a proof. See, and the Mashiach can come Menamesim, can come from the dead. And I said, yeah. It says Daniel. It says Daniel, not your Rebbe. It says Daniel, right? And again, it's a whole discussion. That really the Gemara is giving examples of character types that
worthy of,
right. How Daniel was somebody who seemed back to the past. My class just fascinating what he achieved socio-politically for the Jews. You learn to say for Daniel, it's just I mean, he was the prime minister for like multiple different governments. It's unclear if it was 2, 3, but imagine it's like one of our books we've referenced a million times. We haven't referenced recently how Yehuda Avner, how when he went from being and working in the government of Mapai to Begin's government, that was like crazy. And Lahavdil, Daniel did the same thing. He was part of he was part of Belshazzar's cabinet, so to speak. And then
who killed him?
What's that?
Who killed Daniel?
So Haman, one Mefer says, I have some kashas on that.
I think you told me this. I never heard that before. So you told me this year. The Targum Shani says, it's true, I know this, that Haman killed Daniel. They killed
Memuchan, right? And according to the opinion, the Memuchan is Daniel, supposed to Hasach bin Daniel. And again, Purim time. Well, again, it's cumulative kibbutz. Maybe we could discuss it now, but I have a mini kashas on that Targum chain on how it even fits in. But anyways, and I reference them in this history class, by the way. I mentioned that. And I say here's why it doesn't make sense to me. But Daniel, like the way I understand that Gemara is Daniel was the quintessential example of an Erlich ben Torah tzaddik Navi in history, who at the same time could stelzu to both not only just Bavel, but Persia as well. He was the prime minister under Belshazzar, and then survived the coup of Daryavish, and remained the prime minister, and was asked to be the prime minister under Daryavish, and then Koresh also, like the Daryavish's son-in-law. Right? In antiquity, to be able to hold that position as a Jew, as a frum Jew, under two kingdoms and three kings, shows that's what Mashiach is. Mashiach is a socio-political leader, right? A socio-political religious leader. So that's what the Gemara means. But anyways, but as I would say, yeah, it's Daniel. So Daniel, why your Rebbe is going to want to see Daniel as Mashiach, not him, But anyhow. That's just a little bit of that. So anyhow,
we're getting political.
I know.
Let's end. I'm just going to end off with one more idea, just similar to what we said before. I think also the idea that there's a whole bunch of mafarshim that we discussed before. Why Elimelech went down to Moab, because Mashiach was going to come from Moab. But I think one simple reason to learn why Mashiach comes from Moab, and I saw this put down in this forum, is that Mashiach has to be able to relate minakatza elakatza. He's really redeeming the entire world. And then Mashiach would come with only the purest yichus. A lot of people would say, who am I? I don't have pure yichus. And even if I have pure yichus, my father's not a Rashi, my father's not a Gadol B'Torah, my grandfather, I'm not from the best families. This now, Mashiach, the far-reaching element of Mashiach, every person, it's not dependent on where you come from, it's dependent upon who you are. The Ikriya, whenever we see them cut out with ideas of yichus that are chashiv, it's only as for certain specific ideas of a schus harabim in certain situations, but never defining the essence of the person itself. The best examples we can learn is what happens when Chizkiah Melech marries the daughter of Yeshaya Hanavi. Right? Yeah. Two of the Gedolei Hadar coming together, being Meshadach, and there's the son of that marriage is Menashe. Right.
It was a prophylactic measure that provided no protection. That's
love that word.
Yeah, but it was that story of Chizkiyahu and Yeshaya, Menashe, and Rav Shaka. By the way, right. Here's another one for you. Was Rav Shaka their kid also? You can't say it. You can't say it. You can't say it. It doesn't. There's no way to fit it in. I'm sorry. You have to tell me how historically it fits in. Had to be a different Rav Shaka. That Gemara is either. It doesn't make sense because Rav Shaka was the tormentor of Sancheriv.
No, so the version of the Gemara that's in some of the old Gemaras that the Ein Yaakov brings down is he was killed.
Yeah, you're right. But when did they get married? They got married after the war.
No, he was killed at the age of 3. This is different Rav Shaka. The Rav Shaka that
you're saying is a different Rav Shaka. No, you're saying it is right. Okay, I agree. No, that's what I say. There are those who say that Rav Shaka from the war was also.
The Gemara says he's killed at the age of 3 years old. It's different Rav Shaka. It can't be the same one.
Right. Okay. Because every now and then you'll run into people who, in certain Jewish history books, people teach Tanakh who try and say that Rav Shaka was Chizkiyahu's son. Okay. Good. Rabbi, so those are going to be fighting words. I was going to have to come over there and put you in a headlock if.
Quarantine or no quarantine, we would go toe to toe. It's okay.
Exactly. But just a beautiful idea that Klal Yisrael is we're not an aristocracy, we're a meritocracy, and that's the lesson from Mashiach. That's the
we are that comes from. Like words of Sadiyagain through the Torah. We're Makabel the Torah, and that does it for us. So, beautiful. In any case,
beautiful. Okay, awesome stuff. Anyways, thank you all so much for tuning in. Be sure to tune in tonight if you listen to this on Tuesday for 6:13 pre-Shavuos inspiration. If you listen to this after Tuesday, find 6:13 on YouTube or on Facebook. It's going to be an absolutely amazing presentation. And have an awesome Shavuos. Have a richtige Kabbalas Torah and a big old fat welcome to the guest.
And I want to make one more announcement. If you do not watch this program, me and Rabbi Landis will find you. We will hunt you down, and we will make you pay. So for your own safety.
Run by fruitings. Watch out. Take care, everybody.
Have a great Yom Tov.